What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. Just before we start, I want to announce my 100,000 subscriber giveaway real quick. I'll be giving away a Razer Carcarius and a Razer Naga, as well as 8 $10 RP cards. The giveaway will be hosted on my Facebook page over at facebook.com/gamingcurios, and there's going to be a post, and to enter all you have to do is like the page, like the post, and then share the post as well. Doing all three will enter you in, and I'll randomly select winners next week. Anyways, this is a video about poke lanes. Let's get started. I see a lot of people that just play poke lanes with kind of no strategy behind it. They just do like random things with the lane without really thinking about the effects of their actions, especially when it comes to lane control. Now, on paper, there are two main ways to play poke lanes. There's the poke lane where you push the minion wave, and the poke lane where you instead freeze the wave. In general, with poke lanes letting the opponents push on you really doesn't work that well in terms of creating a lead for yourself, but of course it may be necessary from time to time to avoid fights. Now, when you push the lane as a poke lane, you need to understand that this method gives you almost zero kill pressure, but rather creates a huge CS lead. Since you're a poke lane, that means your champions have good poke, and often good wave clear too, just like most poke lanes. Push the wave up to the tower consistently, and then poke the opponents whenever they go to last hit one of the creeps, or simply just become open to your poke. You can create a health advantage this way, and then use that health advantage to snowball into a CS advantage. This works especially well at kind of gold and below, I would say, since those players don't really have the mechanics to CS under the tower properly. The opponents will not be able to fight due to the huge minion wave, which will result in a pretty massive CS lead for yourself. The opponents will not be able to fight you due to the huge wave, as long as you back off once the wave gets small. In between waves is their chance to fight back on you when you play this way, so you will have to subside your pressure until you have a minion advantage once again, which, with fast pushing, can last for up to 2 to 3 waves or so. However, this method is vulnerable to fights once the jungler has gank pressure, as well as after the first back. It's best to play this type of style very early on in the game, starting from pretty much level 1, up until the first back or so. Try to prolong the initial stay for kind of as long as possible, as long as you aren't afraid of ganks, to create as big of a CS lead as possible. Just be aware that throughout this strategy you are very vulnerable to ganks, so ward efficiently with your trinkets when a gank is likely. It's incredibly recommended to play this style early on, but up only until the first back, as once after that, your health advantage is gone, and the minions won't be as prevalent in fights, as well as ganks are going to be way more likely. And then, after your first back, you can transition into a poke lane where you do not push. If you played the first phase of the poke lane properly and did not die to ganks, you should now have an item advantage due to your early CS advantage. Now, what you want to do from there is set up an optimal fight by baiting your opponents. Create an ideal situation by not pushing the wave, and freezing around the middle or slightly pushed in. Freezing is not too difficult, just look at what your opponents do and push the wave slightly slower than what they're doing. The freeze will usually cause your opponents to fight you, since it gives them room and space that they need, as well as a small minion advantage, which is a major thing people look for when starting fights. You should then be able to kite back and win based off of your early item advantage that you gained previously. If your opponents realize how big their disadvantage really is, you can then freeze and zone. This will give you an absurd CS lead if left unchecked, but instead it usually just forces the opponents to act, or they're going to end up missing 75% or more of the CS in each wave. It's going to make them desperate, and so they'll probably just fight you anyways. Or they might do the correct thing, which is to wait for a gank. Freezing is vulnerable to ganks since it's a very static position, open to flanks and tower dives, so you need to keep up wards properly, as when you freeze your lane, your opponent is probably going to be asking their team for a lot of ganks. And so that's really how you dominate a poke lane. It's important not to push after you get the item advantage, unless you're going for the tower, as that will leave you way too open to fights, denying your kiting ability, while also giving the opponents to win with an optimal fight, even with their item disadvantage, since they just have so much raw space to work with. And, above all else, lane control is key. Minions are what you use to control the flow of the game, so know what to do with them and when. My name is Jeremy, and that's it for my video on the poke lanes. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out some of my others on the screen right now, or stay connected at facebook.com/gamingcurios. Drop a like, share this video, and make sure to subscribe for some more awesome content in the future. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.